Most iconic moments ever to happen in NBA history. The NBA has had some extraordinary moments by some of the greatest players to ever take the court. The NBA has many supporters and diehard fans that love these kinds of iconic moments. These moments that will be talked about are why the NBA means so much to people. So many people around the world can connect to these players and understand what these players were going through during their moments, whether it was due to criticism, a death in the family, or emergency events. Keep watching to see the most iconic moments ever to happen in the NBA. You won't want to miss this. Michael Jordan's NBA title on Father's Day. On June 16th of 1996, Michael Jordan scored 22 points, grabbed 9 rebounds, dished out 7 assists, and won his 4th NBA championship. The Bulls had finished 72-10 in the regular season and clinched the postseason with an 87-75 Game 6 victory over the Seattle Supersonics. Unlike most memorable Jordan performances in past playoff games, the most memorable image of MJ from this game wasn't a game winner, an insane dunk, or anything on the court. The most memorable image was him crying on the locker room floor after the game. The reason why Jordan collapsed on the floor and was so emotional after the win was because it was Father's Day, and this was his first championship since his father, James Jordan, was murdered in 1993. "I know he's watching," said Jordan during his post-game interview with friend Ahmad Rashad. "To my wife and kids, to my mother, brother, and sister, this is for Daddy." Jordan played all 82 games that season, averaging 30.4 points, making the All-NBA First Team, All-Defense First Team, winning MVP of the All-Star Game, and ending it with a 4th MVP and Finals MVP award. LeBron James scores 48 in playoffs versus Detroit. LeBron James is still playing in the NBA. He's not a Hall of Famer yet, and his accolades are still coming in. But we'd be crazy to leave LeBron James off this list. James has plenty of iconic moments. He brought a championship to Cleveland. That's probably the greatest achievement of them all. In the 2007 playoffs against the Detroit Pistons, James heard critics in the background saying that he didn't like the spotlight and would always pass in crunch time. Well, not this night. This was the night he silenced everyone while scoring 48 points. He was King James at the Palace. In that Game 5 matchup, James was just wheeling against anyone who made the folly of stepping up to check him. With the Eastern Conference Finals tied 2-2, James scored 29 of the Cavaliers' final 30 points, including 25 straight, in Cleveland's 109-107 double overtime win at the Palace of Auburn Hills. After the game was over, James was asked if he was surprised with how the night went. "Why should I be surprised? I was making a lot of great moves," James said. "They are definitely a great defensive team, but I was determined to attack. I'm banged up, I'm winded, I'm fatigued, I've got all day tomorrow. It's going to be tough getting some rest when you've got a crazy 2-year-old running around the house. So hopefully, I can take him to one of his grandma's houses." With 6 minutes 5 seconds remaining, James, who was 22 years old in 2007, had just 8 points, although Cleveland had a 79-78 lead. But for the next 16 minutes, King James's show was in full effect. He scored in any way he wanted and got to any place on the floor he desired. And there was nothing the Pistons could do to slow him down. Over the course of those final 6 minutes and 2 overtime periods, James used layups, pull-up jumpers, three-pointers, and any other scoring method he saw fit to record 29 of the Cavaliers' final 30 points. Drew Gooden, who made one of his 2 free throws with 2 minutes 49 seconds left, was the only Cleveland player to score besides James. Detroit's best bet for the onslaught to stop was for James to not be as aggressive, but he continued to attack the rim and the Pistons' defense. He kept every last player in a Detroit jersey on their heels and made sure they felt every ounce of the helplessness he was inflicting on them. When it was all done, James finished with his then career-high 48 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals. After the game, the Pistons explained that they had no answers. "We threw everything we had at him," Pistons guard Chauncey Billups said after the game. "We just couldn't stop him." Game 6 was a blowout, as the Cavaliers took the series back home to Cleveland and finished Detroit with a 98-82 win. This would be the first NBA Finals appearance. The San Antonio Spurs would sweep the Cavs, but that night on May 31st at the Palace was a moment to remember in James's long history of successful and iconic moments. Derek Fisher flies back after daughter's cancer surgery, hits game-clinching 3 in OT. In 2007, before the Utah Jazz's Western Conference semifinal series against the Golden State Warriors had even begun, Jazz guard Derek Fisher announced that one of his children was seriously ill, and that tending to her was going to be his first priority. Fisher missed the start of Game 2 while he was traveling back to Salt Lake City from New York, where his daughter was having an emergency operation to treat retinoblastoma. a rare form of eye cancer. While Fisher was in the air, however, starting point guard Deron Williams got into foul trouble and backup D. Brown got hurt. As soon as Fisher's plane touched down, a police escort was waiting to take him to the arena so he could sub into the game as soon as possible. With his daughter on his mind and having gotten absolutely no time to warm up, Fisher jogged out of the locker room and went straight into the game and eventually hit the game-clinching 3 in overtime to help his team toward a critical win. Before this all took place, Fisher had 30 minutes Tuesday morning to decide whether to remove his daughter's left eye. Fisher sat in an office at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York, across from Dr. David Abramson and Dr. Pierre Gobin, asking them how to cure the cancer that had formed in his baby girl's retina. He really had 3 choices, Abramson said. Remove the eye, or remove the eye. Last week in Salt Lake City, an advanced case of retinoblastoma, a cancerous tumor of the retina found in about 300 children a year, was diagnosed in Fisher's 10-month-old daughter, Tatum. Removing the eye is the most common way to remove the tumor. There was one other option, but it seemed too risky. Last year, Abramson and Gobin developed a procedure called intra-arterial chemotherapy, which allows them to treat the disease without removing an eye. Fisher asked about the intra-arterial chemotherapy. I'm not sure how he knew about it, Abramson said. He must have done a lot of homework. The procedure went off as scheduled. Doctors Abramson and Gobin said that they did not rush, but they were aware of the clock to get Fisher to the game in time. Gobin, who grew up in France, spent 9 years at UCLA Medical Center rooting for the Los Angeles Lakers when Fisher was their point guard. Abramson and Gobin told Fisher late Wednesday afternoon that the procedure was a success, clearing the whole family to fly back to Salt Lake City. On the Jazz's private jet, Fisher started to visualize Utah's opponent, the Golden State Warriors. Again, Utah's starting point guard, Deron Williams, had just picked up his 4th foul while D. Brown was at the hospital being treated for a neck injury. Fisher, who skipped Game 1 to be with his daughter, could not miss another minute. It had been 4 days since Fisher shot a basketball, but he caused a key turnover in the 4th quarter and sank a clutch 3-pointer from the corner in overtime, sealing the victory and putting the Jazz ahead 2-0 with Game 3 on Friday in Oakland. Sometimes you don't want to offend people who don't believe in the Lord, Fisher told reporters Thursday, but I definitely think last night was some form of divine intervention. The doctors were most interested in what Fisher did after the game, when he stood in front of a national television audience describing the dangers of retinoblastoma and urging patients everywhere to get their children's eyes checked. Fisher found a way to make an obscure disease part of the playoff subtext. We could have lost my little girl if we waited any longer, Fisher said. It was an incredible moment for the NBA ambassador. Fisher has made plenty of momentous shots in his career, most notably a turnaround jumper for the Lakers with a .04 of a second left at San Antonio in the 2004 playoffs. But he has always been best known for his poise and decision-making. Jason Collins becomes the first actively open gay athlete in professional sports. While sports are not always considered at the forefront of social change, the NBA has, in recent years, become a place where players have felt increasingly compelled to speak their minds and to publicly share their feelings on pressing issues. Jason Collins, the longtime defensive machine who came out as gay in 2013 and declared his intention to continue his career in the NBA. While it took Collins some time during the 2013-14 season to land a spot on a team, he became the first active and openly gay athlete to play in North American and professional sports when he took the court for the Brooklyn Nets on February 23, 2014. For the rest of the season, Collins played exactly as advertised, physical and tough in the post and very limited on offense. While Collins' courage and achievement earned well-deserved praise, perhaps the most uplifting part of the whole story was how much of a non-story Collins' sexuality became after a couple of games. Kobe Bryant goes off for 81 points and a farewell game. Kobe Bryant on January 23, 2006, the incomparable Lakers shooting guard proved once and for all why he was one of the all-time greats by destroying the Toronto Raptors. Kobe put up 81 points in one of the greatest single-player performances in NBA history. Bryant was already well on his way to a fine night after logging 26 points in the first half. But when the Lakers fell behind by 18 points early in the 3rd quarter, Kobe got mad and started scoring baskets on baskets. Kobe went for 27 points in the 3rd quarter, followed by 28 more in the 4th. The Lakers' double-digit deficit turned into a double-digit win. And by the final buzzer, Kobe had scored the 2nd most points in a game in NBA history, 19 points less than Wilt Chamberlain. Trailing the Utah Jazz for most of that night, Kobe sparked the Lakers in the 4th quarter, rallying them single-handedly to a 101-96 win. Kobe dropped 60 points in his final game. That's unheard of. With 4.1 seconds remaining, Bryant left the game. He was swarmed on the court afterward by former teammates and coaches. "I can't believe how fast 20 years went by," Bryant told the Staples Center crowd as he thanked the fans, his teammates, and his family. He recalled how it was his dream to play for the Lakers, his favorite team growing up. "You can't write something better than this," he said. Bryant, who made 22 of 50 shots, laughed in his farewell speech because he'd been told for 2 decades to pass the ball. On the last night, he said his teammates were telling him not to pass it. Bryant, whom Magic Johnson referred to in a pre-game ceremony as the greatest Laker, finished his speech with "Mamba out" and a kiss followed by a mic drop. He outscored the Jazz in the fourth quarter 23-21. With his team trailing with just under 6 minutes to go, Bryant scored 17 consecutive points for his team. With 40 seconds remaining, Bryant got the ball with his team down 1 point. Bryant dribbled the ball up court, surveyed the defense, headed to his left, then reversed course to use a screen. Bryant pulled up just below the three-point line and scored the game winner. What a moment! After Kobe's death, it's clear that he impacted millions of people around the world with his play on the court. People will forever remember these moments like it happened yesterday. People will be able to tell you years from now where they were when Kobe dropped 81 points or how they were watching the farewell game where Kobe scored 60 points. He was a legend and will always have some of the most iconic moments in NBA history.